YouTube viewer, hey, what are you doing? Hey, no, stop that! Ah!
Sorry, we gotta get rid of this irritating orange before we go any further.
Hey, what's that? Hey, I think I'm passing gas.
So, some of my viewers have sent me emails asking what I thought about using air guns for self-defense. So, I guess we gotta talk about it. Could ya? Should ya? Would ya? Since I live in Texas and I have a concealed carry permit, I am pretty much armed all of the time with a real firearm. So, I've had to think about this a good bit before giving my answer. So, I realize there are people who cannot obtain or carry a real firearm for various reasons, such as their state or country does not allow it, or they're too young to buy one, or they have a criminal record that prevents it. So let's go over some of the pros and cons to using an air gun for self-defense. One pro would be that they're fairly inexpensive. I mean, you can buy a pretty decent air gun pistol for $69, $79 that looks fairly realistic. This Gamma right here is not even based off any particular firearm, and I would imagine most people would probably think it's a real firearm if you showed it to them. You can get fairly realistic looking rifles as well. And of course, I've heard that in 90% of self-defense situations involving the use of a firearm, that simply brandishing the firearm is usually enough to stop whatever the situation is that's occurring, and the bad guy will decide he doesn't want any part of that and take off. And so in those cases, a realistic looking air gun would probably work. The bad part is the 10% of cases where it doesn't work and you don't have the firepower to back up your bluff. Now, the good news is, if you do actually have to pull the trigger, I mean, it's not a toy gun. I mean, it really does have some minimal firepower behind it. I mean, you've seen the video tests where I've taken this Gamma pellet pistol here and shot cans of Spam, and it goes right through the clothing and well into the can. So if that were, a human being, you could definitely pepper somebody with, 8 to 16 rounds of pellets that are going to need to be surgically removed from the ER. And while it's going to hurt a whole lot, it's probably not going to kill or stop somebody. But it might. The problem I see, though, is if you pull out a gun like that, especially if somebody's out of their mind, which is the case a lot of the times when you have self-defense, you may precipitate things to be worse. I mean, they may be armed with a real weapon that can do a lot of damage, and when you pull out your air gun, they may just go nuts, and again, you may escalate the situation even worse. Now, if you had a higher power air gun, like this, you could probably kill somebody if it came down to it. And there are some air guns out there that are as capable as a regular, firearm that take anywhere from 22 to 25 caliber pellets. I think there's even some bigger ones out there. Those things are ridiculously expensive. Of course, they're like $500 to $600 for an entry level model. And the sad part is I've never seen one like that that's semi-automatic. So you basically would have the equivalent of like a $99 .22 long rifle with a bolt action system where you have to put the bullets in one at a time. So it's a lot of money to have a very difficult to use defensive weapon. But if you only needed the one shot, people can take down big game with those things. So I imagine you could take down a person. So keeping in mind all of the things that we just talked about, I want to convey a personal story that I think will really seal the deal. There's only been one time, I've been carrying a regular firearm for about 16, 17 years, and there's only been one occasion where I came close to using it. And it was over a road rage issue, and the bad guys, so to speak, followed me to my parking spot, blocked me in, got out, approached me, and there were three big guys. Me and my wife were there, and These guys were threatening to do all kinds of bodily damage to us, and I had my hand around the grip of my Glock 19, pretty much ready to fire, but they couldn't see that. It was underneath my coat. And I made one last-ditch effort to de-escalate the situation, which is what we're trained to do in our concealed handgun classes. And I looked at the guys, and I made a very honest face, and I apologized profusely, and I said, you know, I was sorry, and it was never going to happen again, and you know, let's not take this any further. And even though it really wasn't my fault, I went ahead and sucked up the pride and de-escalated it. And sure enough, fortunately for them, they took my apology and they left. And they probably have no idea what a good thing it was that they did accept my apology. Now the point is about that is, if I had had an air gun with me and I'd have been all cocky and thought, well, you know, I got a gun, and pulled that thing out, I could have gotten myself killed. So, in fact, I might have gotten myself killed even pulling out my Glock 19, because who knows, they could have been armed too, and it's, you know, 3 big guys against me. So, having said that, I would say with any firearm that, you know, it always should be a last-ditch effort. But even more so if you have an air gun, because, like I said, you don't really have the firepower to back up that bluff. So I would not use it unless it was a last-ditch effort. There was absolutely nothing left you could try. And under that situation, I guess I would say, yeah, use the air gun if you don't have anything else. That's my personal opinion, though. Feel free to put something in the comments. Tell me what you think about it. Send me some comments and some emails for suggestions for my next video, and we'll talk about it. Till next time.